Okay. I guess let's go live. Hopefully this is live at this point. I'm not sure. Give it a couple seconds, I guess. Yeah, I'll just give it a couple seconds here. Got a lot of things up right now. It probably looks very confusing. Got OBS and my stuff pulled up here. So what I'm probably gonna do is I think everything is where it needs to be right now. So let's just kind of wait. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my laptop. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get my laptop out and use that to kind of monitor how everything looks and stuff like that. So I'll see what that looks like. I'm sorry guys if you're saying something or if anyone's here right now. I can't see you right now. It would get too confusing. But hey, if you are on here, hey, what's up? I'll be looking here in just a second. Just got to get things little set up over here. Let me see here. Can plug my laptop in over here, I guess. Behind me, next to my camera charger. And let's get this back. I don't know if anyone's in here yet. Maybe you are. And I'm sorry if you are. I'm gonna close out of my slow laptop. Go see if I can go to the control room and see where you guys are at. Hey, is anyone on here? I can't tell. I don't know. I cannot tell. Okay, so now let's go to YouTube. Probably have to share this around. Get people coming in. Yeah, okay. Let me go in here. So I can start. Go, go, go. My laptop is so slow, it's not even funny. Come on. You can do it. I think I'm live. Get people coming in. Cool. Alright, now I can kind of somewhat monitor. Okay, so people are texting me. Okay, let me see if I can go onto here. And does it have my live stream thing going? Nope, it does not. So what I gotta do is, let me see. If I can go here. Yes, go on my phone. Whoa. Maybe I'll use my phone to kind of to watch maybe. I don't know. But what I gotta do is I'm gonna share this out. Copy link. Let's go to Facebook. And let's go to the channel. Hey, if you guys are watching, give us a thumbs up and share it around. I'd really appreciate it. It does a lot. Help gets more people over here. And so we can get everything going. Alright, so I got that going here. come join my stream. I am breaking down one of my metal covers. Bam. And I gotta put the headbanging emojis. Hell yeah. So what I gotta do is, now I gotta copy all that. Copy. Share that. Publish. Come on. Publish. Now we gotta go to Twitter and do the same thing. And paste and tweet. And we should probably do Instagram. Let's do a photo. Oh, she's. I gotta take a good one. This is probably awkward for you guys. Oh, I turned my volume down. That was funny. I meant to do that. There, good enough. Next. Paste. I probably should have did that first and then posted a picture. Yeah, whatever. Whatever. Share. Bada boom, bada bing. I'm turning my little desktop fan on because it is hot. Oh, it's funny. I'm watching the playback. You guys couldn't even see me. Taking the selfie, so that's okay. I'll take it. All right, let's get some people in here. Hello, hello. Anybody come in? Come on, people. I guess maybe I should give a little more notice when I do these kind of things. Yeah, but oh well. It's whatever at this point. It's still kind of an interesting thing. If nobody comes on, I can still just use this as a video anyway, and I'll still kind of break it down a little bit for you guys. But I kind of want to have you guys interacting a bit. But if you guys aren't on here, you're not on here, you know? You live and learn. Let's make that live. Excuse me, I burped. All right. Just waiting for some people to come on. At least a couple. All right, well, so what I can do is I think what I'm going to do now is I'll probably play through the track and play through it a little bit just to give you guys a little bit of what it's supposed to sound like. And then if people start joining in, I can start talking about how I got that sound and all that fun stuff. So let's get this going. Let's get this playing a little bit here. So that's okay, cool.
All day long I think of this.
one interesting thing that I just thought about that might be an issue is if this gets, I don't, I don't know how the copyright stuff works for live streams. I don't know if I won't be able to put it down as a video or something, or maybe it won't let me like publish it, or I don't know, because I think my Paranoid cover itself actually did get hit with a copyright claim. I think I'd have to check again. It doesn't show. It doesn't show on my phone on the app, so that's the only thing. But yeah, so that's unfortunate. Let's see what we got going on over here. Playbacks. We got 3 playbacks here. Okay, concurrent viewers, huh? 1, 2. Chat rate. All right, come on, everybody. Where are you at? Let's do live chat. All right, guys, come on. We can do this. That's OBS. Let's go back into Cubase. It might take a few minutes for people to trickle on in. We'll just find out here. I wonder what is the what's the thumbnail look like for this? That's different. Okay, I mean I can deal with that, I guess. It's cool enough. It looks intricate and stuff. So maybe I'll play a little bit of guitar or something while I wait. Yeah, maybe I'll break out the acoustic here a little bit. Let some people kind of trickle on in. That's whoa. A little cramped over here, but that's okay. That is okay. Are we in tune? No. No. For the most part, I guess we're in tune. Start playing some interesting stuff for you guys, I guess. Oh, there we go. It's a little better. Drop D right there. make sure my girlfriend knows I'm streaming for when she comes home from work. Whew. Alright, so, okay. Let's put this back. What I'm going to do is start basically remixing it and adding other stuff to it because it's not perfect. And I think someone just walked in the door. Don't make it awkward just walking through. I don't know. She's somewhere. She's somewhere. She was going nuts when I got home, so I'm not sure. Is the water better? Yeah, I think so. Alright, so I think let me go back here. I want to go back. Oh, it's all the way at the... Oh, that's weird. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing it through so you guys can just hear the whole thing because I got to go say hello. So I'm going to turn off my video and my microphone and play the song. Or maybe not. Never mind. I'll be back for another few minutes, I guess. Tickety-dow. Okay. Alright, so let me see. I know there are some spots that I wanted to mix out better. Well, first here, I'll talk about the way I tracked it and everything. So basically, I start out with right here this this top two MIDI tracks. So I start off with a drum MIDI, which isn't playing through, but just a simple drum MIDI going through there, which doesn't end up in the final mix because I have to export that MIDI out to a separate project to dissolve all the parts and edit all the drums individually and all that fun stuff. And then that becomes this, where it says drums. And that's an actual waveform, which is edited. So it sounds better compared to this. It sounds kind of very fake. But then if I switch to the actual edited ones, it sound a lot better. Lot better. And then I just have the bass edited. It's, I mean, simple. Just enough to be there in the mix, because I don't have a bass. I'll have to get one eventually to put it in, but it's just there. You could tell I put 2 octaves in, just to add some fatness and thickness to the bass, and you get that sub-octave. That way it kind of works well with the kick drum, because that kick drum's going to sit way lower in the mix than the bass, but that sub bass, that lower octave, just kind of adds a little more oomph to everything. And then I pretty much always, okay, so most of the time I quad track. So I have a left, right, but I have four guitar tracks total. And you can see those are the red ones. Those are the red tracks. And I always do that just because it makes it sound more full. And especially for metal and the heavy stuff that I'm doing, it's got to be full. I mean, if I just solo the guitars, so you could tell that it's thicker. I mean, you can get by dual tracking. You can do just 2, a left and a right, and it'll still sound. It'll still sound fine, but just when you quad track, it beefs things up a little bit more. And what in the hell is that sound? It's weird, but it just beefs everything up a little bit more. And you can add different tones and everything in just to fill out the frequency. Because here's like the first guitar. Okay, and then you got the second one. And then third guitar. A little more of a higher gain, just to fill out that frequency. And then another high gain. So essentially, what in the world? What is that sound? What is that sound? That's really annoying.
Oh, they're picking up the dumpster thing.
Jeez, they better clear out fast. That's really annoying. Like, really annoying. Sounds like a truck that doesn't know how to siren. it's funny because I just saw you walk by because it's delayed. And you're by the window now.
What are you talking about? I said your camera is down there.
No. Nope. But anyway, basically it's I got 2 left channels, 2 right channels, and one of each on each side is a low gain and the other one's a high gain, so it just fills everything out. And it makes everything sound better because it's like more of a wall of a sound. And then moving down here, I've got 2 solo tracks for different parts. If I have like the competing solo sections, or if I just have a single one. And those ones I don't do much to those. I have a tuner on them because I have a tuner on most of the guitar tracks just so I can stay in tune. And I got my cabinet simulator and a little bit of solo delay on there. And then I got, you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different vocal tracks. And you'll see why here in a second. But then I have these group tracks at the bottom for guitars, vocals, and then the screams because I did the more screamy thing in this one. And I separated that from the normal vocals just because you have to kind of edit them a little bit different. I was doing some automation with some effects on the screams and stuff. But it just makes it easier to mix in the end because instead of having to open up the mix console and do all of these all at once, well, as you can see, like I have it even right here when I was mixing it at the end. All I have is like the solos, the guitars, the vocals, and the screams all into one thing. But if I uncheck or unhide everything, you can see how much it starts to turn into a big old mess, like of a lot of different tracks. So I've got a lot going on, and just having those group tracks is really, really nice. And I wish I could select everything. Can I do that? I wonder. Never tried. Oh, I can. Okay, so that's new. I learned something new. But so I do guitars, vocals, and screams, and then I think I had the 2 solo guitar things out, and then that's simple. And then I think I had drums and the bass, and then that's it. So I can edit all the core components together to get the mix right. And yeah, it just makes it easier to mix in the end because I don't have to deal with all of these different tracks. It's just I kind of submix the guitars down to the group guitar track and the vocals and all that, and then get my levels within themselves, and then all I got to do is mix the group tracks, which makes things a hell of a lot easier in the end and faster. But yeah, that's pretty much the breakdown, and that's pretty much everything in it. But yeah, so now I can start playing through some of this stuff. You heard the guitars a little bit, but now let's just kind of play the song from the beginning here. You can hear that low frequency in the kick. See, and just even in there, this is one thing that I wish I would have changed. The drums for this are so simple. Like, it's just a simple drum beat. I wish I would have changed it a little bit because I've got this very speed metal thrash thing going on with the guitars. And like, so like right here. So it's like a very fast thing, and it's just kind of weird. I should have amped up some of the kick drum a bit just to get it matching with that, but it turned out okay in the end. But like I was saying, you can really hear that low end in the kick drum because I added that in there. See, and that's the simple part. So it's the drums. You got those going on, simple drums, and then you got to add in the guitars and the bass. And that's pretty much all there is to that. It's the vocal things that's more of kind of the interesting and experimental side of everything. I mean, there's experimental stuff with the guitars, with getting different sounds and blending and all that fun technical shit, but the vocals is where it gets kind of interesting because you got to change them up and you got to harmonize and all that crazy stuff. So I'll open up what I did just for that first verse and let's play it through. Let's take out the drums and the bass and let's just
Finished with my woman, cause she couldn't help me with my mind. People think that I'm insane because I'm frowning all the time.
So obviously you can tell it's not just one vocal line. It's multiple.
Finished with my woman, cause she couldn't help me with my mind. People think that I'm insane because I'm frowning all the time.
And the reason you do that is a lot of music is double tracked to begin with. So you have your two main, your main vocals. So I don't know if, I think I kind of did that with this. So basically, what I'll do is I'll do two main vocals where they're either the same or one's rough and one's clean. And then I'll add extra backup stuff below that and kind of turn it down and back away from the microphone to give us some space. That way it kind of just settles in the mix a little bit better. But these first two vocal lines are are just one's a rough. You can see it says vocal rough and then vocal clean 1, and those are the two main what you would consider the double tracked vocal lines.
Finished with my woman, cause she couldn't help me with my mind.
And so basically, if you just listen to the rough,
Finished with my woman, cause she couldn't help me with my mind.
and then you listen to the clean,
Finished with my woman, cause she couldn't help me with my mind.
it just kind of it keeps it within the melody, because if you start doing a lot of rough stuff, you can kind of lose the clarity of what your melody is and what is actually trying to be articulated. And once you add those cleans kind of in the background with the rough stuff, it keeps that melodic nature and keeping the rough side of everything at the same time. So it just adds, it adds to the melody, keeps it strong. That way it doesn't get lost in the screechy, rough, gritty stuff.
Finished with my woman, cause she couldn't help me with my mind. People think that I'm insane because I'm frowning all the time.
And you'll notice too, with those two tracks, they're almost exactly aligned. They're almost exactly perfect, with each other. And that's one thing you got to be on top of, is your timing with everything, because, well, especially when you're doing multiple vocal tracks like this, it can become really amateur sounding if you have 4 different vocal tracks going on at the same time and you're not in time with yourself. It just doesn't sound right. You'll start hearing all these different sounds and different voices coming through, and it just doesn't sound like one solid take. It'll sound like 3-4 people trying to say the same thing and not being in time with each other. It's the same thing with the guitars. You got to be on top of yourself and in time with yourself. Otherwise, it's going to sound really, 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 really bad and really amateur. That's why you got to work with a click, and that's why with Cubase, it's got the click already built into it. So
Finished with my woman,
that way you can keep track, and you can kind of counteract with latency, which is kind of what I was running into with this, because all the guitar stuff with this is just straight from my amp into the mixer into my computer. So I didn't mic up the cab or anything. This is just straight up from my amp. And I think I've talked about it before, but there's still kind of a little bit of lag. So when I'm doing something that's like thrashy like this with the guitars, it gets kind of hard to stay in time. And that's another thing I wish I could have changed is you can hear at certain spots that I'm not completely in time with myself because it's just once you stack up the 4 different tracks, by the time you're recording track 4, you got to like really be on your A game or you're going to make everything sound really out of time. But eventually I kind of somewhat got used to it, but it's easier with slow parts like that. You can counteract the latency. But once you start doing that fast, chuggy, palm muted shit, it gets a lot harder because that latency starts to pile up. But anyway, going back to the vocal stuff, those first 2 tracks are going to be the main ones, like I said. So those are going to be what drives everything. That's like what's up front. And even on top of that, even though they're supposed to be the main, like the main vocals, I still think I have, so I even have the main vocal at -5 dB below everything else, and I have the one, the clean vocal below that at -9. So, and the more I add vocals to it, the lower and lower in the mix they go, because you don't want to have them all at the same level, because then they're just going to compete with each other. So that's why I say when I do the backup stuff, I kind of back away from the microphone, like physically, because it gives it that extra space. Instead of being right on top of it for all 4 takes and just trying to get the volumes right, if you actually back away, it kind of helps everything just to kind of settle in where it's supposed to. But these other 2 vocal tracks, let's see, I don't even remember what are they. Okay, so basically what I did with that, let me see, which one's 3? Is that the same as this one? Okay, so the first clean and the second clean are basically just double tracks, so it's just keeping that melody just like I was talking about earlier. Yeah, so that just keeps the melody going, and it just kind of makes it a little bit stronger. So that last one, though, that one I went an octave below. Finished with my woman, 'cause she couldn't help me with my mind. People think that I'm insane because I'm frowning all the time. It fills it out a little bit better, because I've got this rough vocal, I got 2 cleans that are higher up, and then one that's a lower octave. And that just gives it that more, I don't know, full. Finished with my woman, 'cause she couldn't help me with my mind. People think that I'm insane because I'm frowning all the time. And like I was saying, so the vocal, the rough one is at the highest level. That's -5 dB. You go down to the clean one that kind of supports it. That's -9.942. And the next one below that's -11. And the lower octave one, I put that at about 8, just because I wanted you to hear that a little bit more. It's just the way that sounded good to my ears, just the way I kind of mixed those. But I think they turned out sounding pretty good. But like as you can tell, like I said earlier, you got to be like in time with yourself and be able to, it took me a couple tries to get all of these. It's not like first take or anything like that, because you say things a certain way and you kind of fumble a little bit, or you stumble your words or whatever. You want to be like on top of it, just like if you're playing drums or bass, or you're double or quadruple, quintuple tracking your guitars. You got to be in time with yourself. You got to be locked in time. Because if you're not locked in time, then it just falls apart. But let's move on to the next section and let's take a listen and break that down a little bit too.
Finished with my woman 'cause she couldn't help me with my mind. People think that I'm insane because I'm frowning all the time. All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify. Can you help me?
Okay, so I'm gonna break down that second verse there too, with the vocals. I mean the guitars and the drums and stuff are all the same. It's mainly the vocals that are kind of the main thing I'm trying to talk about here. So I'm gonna pull up the vocals and play through those.
All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify.
See again, that's all in for the like it's 98% in time with itself, all of them.
All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify.
And again, I've got that rough track, the two higher cleans, and then the lower clean, and it gels. To me, it gels and it works together. So it's like
All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify. Can you help me? Occupy my brain. Oh yeah.
yeah. So you got to be in time with yourself, even with that hard stuff there.
Can you help me? Occupy my brain.
Even that part you got to be on top, because I mean you could probably get away with kind of sliding the notes, I guess, doing some kind of like legato rundown, but the da da da, that part you got to get in all four of those tracks. You got to get them in time, and that's kind of hard with like no vocal training or anything like that. So it's like really, I don't know, getting that articulated kind of thing is a little bit weird.
Occupy my brain.
But the da da da, that's got to be all in time with all of them. If not, then it would sound really like you get kind of like a weird chorusy effect, and that's not what I wanted.
Oh yeah.
I wanted it to sound full and normal and just upfront in your face.
All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify. Can you help me? Occupy my brain. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, so this next part too, I like this a lot because I needed to add my own little bit of flavor to the song, besides turning it kind of thrashy and speeding things up and doing all that fun, heavier type of changing. But I felt like this whole spot here, if I didn't have the vocals in there, like, mute it. If I didn't have the vocals in there, it gets bland because it's the same thing that gets repeated over and over and over. And I didn't want to do any kind of weird breakdown just yet, because it's still somewhat in that like first driving force of the song. So I thought of this simple little kind of I don't know, Anthraxy kind of group vocal type of thing. So basically, I just went out on all the clean vocal tracks and did a very percussive hey type of thing. And it sounds stupid on itself or by itself, but when you add it into everything else, it just it keeps everything moving, It just it adds a new flavor. It keeps it from getting boring. And this is the experimenting that I was talking about. Trying new things, doing different stuff. And then we get back to this next verse, where I've got a very Dave Mustaine type of thing going on here. So let's just get the vocals soloed again. I have some kind of like pickup or like, you know, lead in or grace note or whatever you want to call it, going right into the vocal line. You'll hear it go. It almost sounds like I'm about to vomit. But that's, I don't know, it just sounded right. You know what I mean? So it just kind of fits.
I need someone to show me the things in life that I can't find. I can see the things that make true happiness. I must be blind.
Okay, and again, same thing with this verse. It's just same rough vocal, 2 high cleans and 1 low clean, just to get that full sound.
Someone to show me the things in life that I can't find. I can see the things that make true happiness. I must be blind.
And then we get to the solo. And this is the part where I had to really think about what I wanted to do, because that song, I grew up listening to that song so much. Like, that solo is burned into my brain. And so I just that lead up going, I must be blind, and ba-na-na-na, jumping into it, it's just so like iconic. I couldn't really change it. But I also didn't want to just straight up play Tony Iommi's solo like in its entirety, because I got to change it. You know, I got to do something different. I can't just copy exactly what he did. So what I did was I did like the intro to the solo first, and then I added my other stuff into it and changed it up. So basically, I paid homage to the solo without ripping off the solo. So just, if you haven't listened here, I'll give you a little bit of a peek.
Happiness, I must be blind.
So then I ended it. That's as much of the original solo as I played, just to kind of lead into everything else. Just to give it that, pay my little respects to Black Sabbath and Iommi. But, you know, I'll break down the tone a little bit here too with the solo guitar. So it's, here's what it sounds like. So basically, I got a little bit of solo delay going on in there. I got a compressor on it just to keep everything even. And let's see what I got for the delay. So I got 1/8 delay. So that's like an eighth note basically. So it's got a if you hit here, you're gonna hear a regeneration like an eighth note later, synced up with the tempo of the song. And I don't have it very high. I have the mix of it very low, you know, not even a quarter of the way. And the feedback, I've got it a little low too, because I don't want to drown it in delay. I just want enough so that it can stick out and have room to breathe. And the tone that I have is, let's see. Oh, it's basically a John Petrucci with his Mark V. It's basically his tone. Through an impulse, which maybe I'll have to do a video on at some other point. But it's an impulse response. So I'm basically using the output of my actual amplifier into a cabinet simulator in Cubase to get my sound. And I have a Mark V cabinet simulator or cabinet impulse into a I forget what they call it, Paula LeCab cabinet loader or impulse loader. And basically what it's doing is just creating a virtual version of John Petrucci's Mark V cabinet. And yeah, it gives me the tone. And I chose that because with my other guitars, some of them I have just a straight up tone coming from my amplifier, which 3 and 4 are. because my amplifier has a cabinet simulator built into it through the emulation out in the back of it. But for guitars 1 and 2, I was using Ignite's NAD impulse response impulse loader, and I got a rectifier for the second guitar. I'm assuming it's a dual rectifier, and for the first one, I've got a I think it's a PV 5150. Is a PV? Yeah, I think PV is a 5150. So I got the PV 5150 simulated through that, and that just gives me the different tones so that everything can mesh well together and sound good. But the solo one's got a little bit more of a crunchier, higher tone so that it can stick out of the mix without having to do a lot of crazy EQ or anything like that. So okay, and so the one thing I will say about this solo section with this is you can see it's in 4 parts, and usually that's what I do kind of at first, and then I piece the solo together so I can get the best takes I can for each individual like part that I come up with, and then I'll go back and try to record a single take of it. But for this one, obviously I didn't. Some other ones I didn't because it was kind of like a dueling guitar, like, as if there was like 2 solo guitar players in the band kind of thing, like if I was dueling against myself. But for this one, I meshed it well enough together to kind of sound like one solo, and I could have went back and did a single take of it, I guess, but because I gave myself that week time limit, it just didn't happen in time. I had to get it finished and put out. But it still sounds good nonetheless, so no complaining there. And then obviously we get into the next verse after the solo. Okay. Now this was the last, well, one of the last things that I was going to talk about here was this little section that I did something a little bit different with, okay? So if you have seen the cover already, then you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, you're about to find out. So basically at this point, I had a, here, I'll mute this. I have kind of a breakdown. This is where I kind of add my own stuff to the song at the end, and so this is kind of what it sounds like. Kind of like a building breakdown. Kind of a good little head bobbing breakdown, but I wanted to add something into it because that's all I had at first, and I was like, that just seems kind of naked and it seems kind of, I don't know, boring. And so I was like, you know what, I'll try something different for once. And so I added these vocals, and take a listen. So let's back it up a little bit, and so you can hear that. you can hear the little bit of regenerations there. So basically, I did some screamy type stuff, and I had 3 of those stacked up so that I could fill out, like, again, just like the regular vocals, so it could fill out the different frequencies. And let's just kind of hear these by themselves. So let's hear. So I basically just have 3 different screams. And so basically what I did was, I think for 3, okay, so I used a thing on here that for vocal 3, you hear it sounds kind of like dark almost, like it's got my vocal with kind of like a low harmonic in it, so I got this plugin that kind of adds a lower harmonic, and it just kind of makes it sound more like demonic, but it's super low, super low in the mix. It's like, yeah, negative 11 dB. So like the first one's at 0 because I wanted it up front and in your face, and it's not doubled, so I needed a little bit louder. Like the main vocals before, I had those turned down because I doubled those up. This is on its own. Then the second scream, I have down to negative 8 dB, and then the third one I have at negative 11. And on top of having those at different levels there, I going from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, I stayed further back from the microphone, like I said before, to give it room and air, and then it just kind of blends together, and you get that sound that you hear. So it's obviously very kind of higher up. It's like more of like a vocal fry kind of thing, kind of like I don't know, like higher, like kind of like those higher death metal vocals. They call it vocal fry. That's all I can say. Because it sounds like you're frying something like in oil. It's like crackly, very spitty. Because I can't do that low death metal stuff, or at least not right now. But yeah, and then if that's just pretty much normal. I think I have a little bit of delay on that just to kind of stretch it out because it's a held out scream. And on top of that, I also have a bit crusher, which is kind of cool. So if I solo this, let's see, take those off. So if I hear it here, basically what it kind of does, this is what it sounds like without the bit crusher. And then if I add it in, can you hear the difference? It just kind of adds a weird kind of distortion to it. It just kind of, like I said, it's experimental type of stuff, but I've seen people use bit crushers before, and a lot of times you use the bit crusher for some really weird, almost like video game type of sounds at times when you put it on instruments or synthesizers and stuff. But when you use it as like as kind of a plug-in on something like a vocal, it just kind of adds a little bit of this weird distortion effect to it. It sounded kind of cool, so I put it in. And I have that on all 3 of them. I had a bit crusher on all 3 of them. And then we get to that next scream line. Okay, so you can hear I got a little bit more of a wet sound with that one. And that's because if you'll watch this, so watch, I believe, let me see. So it's the delay. Okay, so watch the delay knob here where it says 132 as I play through this. So you see, at the beginning it's at 1/32, but I'm not doing anything, and it drops down. I didn't touch anything. And it went from 1/32 to 1:1. And basically what it does is that kind of opens up the delay. So like a 1/32 would be like a 30-second note delay. So it's like really kind of like right after, as soon as you say something, it's like pop pop. But with this delay, it turns it into a quarter note delay. So it's like, dot dot. So every time you hear it's like this. And that just kind of stretches out, especially for something like I didn't want to do that, but especially for something like a long scream like that, it stretches things out. And the reason why I didn't just kind of add like keyframes, like I could have just set right here at the beginning at 121 here and had it at 0, and then as soon as I started screaming, just put it up at whatever I had it at 1:1 and just let it run through. But I automated, which is what I was talking about, where basically I turn on a button, I play, and then whatever way I control the knobs as it's playing, it'll record what I do. So I can go up and down with it like this while it plays, and then when I play it back, the knob's gonna do that for me because it's automated. That's why it's called automation. So you write the automation and it'll do whatever you want it to do. So I had it kind of roll off and open up instead of just kind of boom being open. It kind of like you hear it, it's up in your face, it's not so wet, and then it rolls off into that 1:1 ratio and kind of broadens out and fills the space, and it just kind of opens it up a little bit more. So that was interesting and fun to do. It was different. Never did anything like that before, but it's there and it's there. But then, okay, let's listen to the rest of the breakdown here. Let's solo and unmute everything. So we'll hear the breakdown one more time. Full mix. Sorry, I had both drum tracks going, so that's why I sounded like that. Here we go again with the like Anthrax group gang vocal type of thing. And then that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's just about it. I can go back here, and what I'll do is I'll pull up the mix console, and you guys can kind of see everything like out on the mixing board. So let me just check all that stuff, and I'll hit play so you can watch all the meters and stuff, because ooh, pretty lights. But you can notice that's one thing I'll point out is if you look down over here where it's red with the guitars, you can see they're not all the same level because of the way that I had to mix them. So I mixed them within themselves and then added them to the group track to mix later as, just one thing to turn a knob on just as guitars. Instead of having to do 4 individual ones, I did the 4 individual ones, got it to where I want it, then routed them out to a group track to make mixing down the road easier. But that's besides the point. just look at all the different levels are not all the same. I have them, it's almost kind of like a hill. It's like woo 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 woo, because everything can't be the same or it doesn't sound good. But yeah, that's what I got going for the mix.
All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify. Can you help me? Occupy my brain. Oh yeah. I need someone to show me the things in life that I can't find. I can see the things that make true happiness. I must be blind.
Okay, I think that's enough. I won't play through the whole thing because if you guys want to listen to it, you can go watch the video and you can see it play through the whole thing with the video and everything. It's not just watching some boring old recording tracks and stuff like that. It'll be a lot more fun to watch. But yeah, I'll have to see if I get hit with a copyright claim with this thing, either from my own video or from the song like the cover did. I'm kind of curious to see if it does that. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole simple way to put the way I did it. I mean, I could have gone way more in depth, but that's something I can do another time with a different song, something a little more complex. I mean, this may seem kind of complex, but for a cover, it's kind of simple. And then obviously I can do stuff later if you guys want about the mastering process, because this once I mix this, I export it out and have to do a whole nother process to master it and stuff and make it sound good on phones, headphones, cars, speakers, PAs, all that kind of stuff. And boost the level so that it's loud enough so that you don't have to crank your volume all the way to 100 to barely hear it. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. If you haven't seen this cover yet, I would say go check it out. So definitely go do that. I'll have to type out and put the link down in the description after this is done for those of you who are seeing this after the fact. For those who didn't join while this was going live, so you can go over there and watch it and maybe you'll learn a thing or two. Maybe not. I'm no professional or anything. I just kind of learn my information from different people and videos and stuff, just like you guys. I just try to apply it in different ways. But I figured you guys might want to see a little bit of a glimpse into a simpler side of the process I take to make a cover. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about what I showed you guys today or what I'm doing, if you need anything more in depth of certain aspects of like the tone or how to use the impulse responses or how I try to mix things or like the mastering process or how I use the VSTs and the effects, you guys will just have to let me know, and I can do some stuff on that later down the road. But I did this today because I didn't have a cover to put up, so I had to do something. But this was kind of a fun and new thing to do, so we'll have to see how it does. And if you guys like it, then obviously I can do more of them. But yeah, I don't even know how long I've been streaming for at this point, but I'm starting to get hungry, and I gotta go say hello to my girlfriend and chill out. But yeah, so I'll cut it. I'll cut it here and I'll end it. I don't even know how long it is. It's probably about an hour or something like that. That's enough for you guys to be entertained for a little bit. So I'll just cut it off here. So thanks for those who joined, and for those who are watching this down the road, go check out the cover. I'll put the link in the description. And yeah, so like I always say, thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.